Lords, it's a great pleasure to follow the Noble Lady Baroness Tyler and to very much echo the Noble Lady's comments about concerns about procedural ways in which this is being rushed through and the way in which it, having been declared a money bill, denies us a broader debate that we might otherwise be having. Now, I want to begin by thanking the Noble Lady, the Minister, for introducing the bill and indeed welcome the Noble Lady, Baroness Shawcross-Wolfson, and express my sadness to see the departure of the Noble Lady, Baroness Diana Patrick. And I'm going to begin, perhaps surprisingly, by agreeing both with the Minister and the Noble Lord Viscount Younger that we have a problem with ill health. Except what we have is a problem with ill health. It's not a problem with providing benefits for ill health. Now, the Noble Lady Baroness Tyler referred to the delays and the problems with NHS treatment and social care. I would add to the fact that we are a deeply unhealthy society. We have terrible quality of food system, we have terrible quality of housing, we have problems with air quality, we have problems with the nature of the environment, we have problems with low pay and insecure work. All of these things make people ill, and what we need to do very much is tackle those issues, but that's not going to, if we deny people money, if we deny people enough to live on to be able to afford healthy food, that is not going to make them healthier. And that's the basic reason for my regret motion. Now, I think it's really important to explain. I've spent more time explaining what a regret motion is in the past couple of days than I might have expected. And I think there's a lot of people who I know who are listening tonight. That it's worth stressing that the House of Lords has no power to stop or amend this bill. So a regret motion is the strongest thing that I am been able to do. What's the practical effect? Absolutely nothing. But what I am intending to do, and I've tried to make sure that everyone knows this so they're aware of it, I'm intending to put this regret motion to a vote because I think it's really important that people out there who are going to be affected by this bill have the chance to know that there are people there supporting them. And I note, of course, that in the other place, 47 Labor MPs and many others indicated at the third reading that they did not want this bill to proceed. Now, the regret motion notes the effects of the bill on age discrimination, the impacts of on people with high levels of need and mental health conditions, and the overall impacts on rates and severity of poverty among people with disabilities, and notes the important human rights concerns expressed by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. That reflects the perspective of the Disability Rights UK briefing on this bill, which I've widely circulated, and I quote, "Debt and poverty are already a fact of life for existing disabled claimants of universal credit, with many unable to afford essentials such as food, energy and housing, or the additional costs of disability. The cuts will exacerbate this grave situation even further, pushing people into deeper poverty." Close quotes. Now, I and I'm sure many other Noble Lords have received a flood of briefings from organisations representing disabled people, including Scope, Sense, the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, Parkinson's UK, the Mental Health Trust and Amnesty International. The last very clearly identifies, as the UN did, this is a human rights issue, as the regret motion points out. The latest letter from the UN committee points that this is going backwards when it had already identified that there was a problem. And if we want to look at what that means, recent research from the Trussell Trust and YouGov found that 1 in 5 people receiving universal and disability benefits now have been forced to use a food bank in the past month. What's that going to do to people's health? How is that going to equip them to actually to find work, if that's even a possibility? Now, there's a further joint briefing involving many of those organisations, and additionally the Disability Benefits Consortium, the Trussell Trust, Citizens Advice, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, Child Poverty Action Group, the New Economics Foundation, Z2K, Turn to Us, the MS Society and Carers UK. And this highlights how the bill as it stands means that the existing recipients of the health element of universal credit will not see their payments frozen, but will also not feel most of the benefit from the £250 per year increase in the standard allowance, which the Noble Lady, the Minister and the Government has made much of. About 50,000 more people disabled people and people in households with disabled people are predicted to be in poverty by 2030 as a result of that. But perhaps the most pernicious part of this is the key clause 2, which cuts the limit capability for work and work-related activity, LCWRA, element of universal credit, generally known as the health element, going to affect more than 750,000 disabled people by £3,000 a year, an effect that will only continue to grow unless we get a future government concerned about the rights of disabled people and basic humanity. That, of course, means effective age discrimination, since younger people are far more likely to be affected. And as Sense points out, for the people it represents with complex needs, if they receive £47 less in support each week, a quarter would be pushed into debt, often further debt, and 1 in 5 say that they would be forced to go without essential support to basically live their lives. Now, the government claims, and the Noble Lady the Minister said, that some people with terminal illness and lifelong conditions will be protected, but the impact assessment confirms that fewer than 10% of new claims would be saved by this. Now, I go to the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, which says that few of the adults it represents are likely to meet the severe conditions criteria. Quote, despite the fact that a typical person with cystic fibrosis on the health element of universal credit is someone who cannot walk 200 metres within a reasonable timescale, the majority of the time is at risk of voiding their bowels and or bladder and would spend a significant portion of their day performing their daily treatment. These are the people this bill explicitly targets for benefit cuts. Now, if the Noble Lady the Minister can tell me that they are going to be protected, I'd be interested to have that on the record, but that is not what charities who are experts in this area believe. Parkinson's UK notes that it has legal opinions from 2 different experts, concluding that the severe conditions criteria is likely to effectively prevent people with Parkinson's from getting the higher rate health element. Now, I came into your Lordship's house promising to share the voice of the voiceless. So I've received, and I'm sure many others have received, hundreds of emails from individual disabled people and their carers setting out their situation. I'm going to use it, with permission, just one, although I'm not going to name the person to protect their and their family's privacy. This person, this woman, is a former elected Labor councillor, a former NHS professional, and she's a carer for a young adult autistic son and for a parent with multiple sclerosis. She says, I am currently advocating for my son, who has applied for universal credit and is now undergoing the LCWRA assessment. Without me helping him, my son could not negotiate this system. Cutting the health element for these young people is wicked. This is how they end up on the streets when there is no family to support them. She says, this generation has been shafted by the SEND system. Most did not achieve their potential due to unmet needs and lack of support in school. They're at higher risk of mental health issues. They're less likely to gain employment. She notes that the first requirement of most jobs ads is excellent communication skills. She says, my son is selectively mute. He is at an immediate disadvantage. Now, I would ask the Noble Lady Baroness Stedman Scott, in responding for the official opposition, to confirm to me that she would agree, having listened to Viscount Leckie's speech, that she would agree that this is a family that needs the strongest possible support. I hope that the Noble Lady can confirm that. And I'm going to conclude with the remarks of this former Labor councillor, who says, I am shocked and appalled at this proposal. It really will destroy lives. Now, I have to finish myself by concluding that I'm really sorry that I'm not going to be able to respond individually to everyone who's emailed me. The volume is just too great. But there's a collective testament there to the fact that disabled people in our society are not feeling, as Sir Keir Starmer told the liaison committee yesterday that he wants them to feel, they are not feeling secure and supported. They are feeling absolutely the opposite. I beg to move.